Yo, yo, what's good, guys? It is the gooziest goose of all gooses coming back at you with another Sunday watch list. Just wanted to go over some charts. Of course, we always got to show you the price action that's happening. Last week was a little dicey, didn't quite play out how I wanted it to. I didn't necessarily lose much money in my long term account, of course, as stocks go down. My long term portfolio goes down, but options, I was very patient. Didn't really take many trades. As you see, we're still in this range here on QQQ and SPY, just kind of going sideways. So we're still waiting to see if we get that breakout. My thesis last week was that we go higher. Now I'm a little bit skeptical of it. I just feel like we're not quite moving as fast as I thought we would with some of the tariff deals. Unemployment wasn't terrible. It was actually better than expected, so that's always a good thing. As we move forward and try and navigate this market, it's just always important to remain level-headed. As I always say, is like, every 10% drawdown, if that does continue to happen and say China continues to escalate, we continue to, block things off like the NVIDIA chip things that we did, the M20 chips that we no longer can sell to China through NVIDIA. Like those type of escalating things are going to be detrimental to stocks, especially when they're unknown. So until we get a little bit more clarity, we probably won't see a lot of upside, but we'll see how it does play out. You never really know. It can change, in a snap of a finger. But this week we have flash manufacturing on Wednesday. That's in red folder, flash services PMI, and then unemployment claims. So a pretty tame week on the forefront of like economic calendar and stuff. There's really not a lot going on. You can see that we're clearly in a range. SPY, if we can get above that 545, we could start to cook towards the 200-day moving average. If we get below 515, 520 area, that's going to smell some trouble for another leg lower. If you look in the overall trend and like kind of where we're heading, it definitely doesn't look good. It definitely looks like we came up, retested that area, and bears are still in control. The one good thing is that huge candle and then a flag. Like it does look like a bull flag, technically speaking. There's a lot of fundamentals and things that are going on in the news that it's hard to be bullish, and I understand that, but technically we're starting to build some short-term structure. We'll see if we do get that follow-through, but if it does break below, most likely we're going to be testing these levels again, hopefully a little double bottom. I don't want this to go any lower, to be honest. It's just kind of getting old, but that's just kind of what happens when uncertainty comes, and you, as a long-term investor, you kind of have to relish and be excited about lower prices as well, because you see the bigger view in stocks that it's going to continue to go higher in the longer term. So if it does, come back and test these or even lose that, that's going to be a significant drop. People are going to start just tossing the towel in. I'm over it. I'm done. But range bound, SPY, like I said, we're in that range. QQQ, if you can get above that 467, 470 area, then we could start to cook a lot higher into the 200-day and the 50-day. If we lose this 440 area, 438, that's going to spell some trouble. We're trying to build it out a little bit of a flag. Technically speaking, it looks okay, but still a mean downtrend. Can't get above that. What was I can't remember the name. The day that Trump announced tariffs, he called it something. I forgot what the heck the name was. I can't think of it. But now it's going to bother me. Something day. I don't know. Jimmy's brought it up a few times. But getting above this would be huge. Above 467, 468 area would be massive. If we start to lose this, we could go for another leg lower, at least like a double bottom, triple bottom thing. Look around the 400 area. So be careful. Keep your head on a swivel. If news does come out bad, we could, lose this and go lower. If we could start to get some deals, even with just EU or Japan, some of the smaller countries, maybe we could start to work our way up. We'll see how it plays out. IWM, still a very tight flag. You can see that they're all still in range. That's part of the reason I didn't take any options last week. When things go sideways, it's not really a market that you want to trade. Like, you want the big move. So I'm waiting to see. It doesn't look like anyone's too quick to sell. And then when you see like Bitcoin like popping off, that's, I don't know. I wouldn't say popping off. Technically speaking, there's still some room to run, but it's odd to see that futures are down almost 1%. We're kind of flagging up, and then you start to see like Bitcoin going up. So it's like, is that showing a appetite for risk on behavior? Like, are people going to start piling in? I don't know. But Apple, they kind of struggled to hold this level. Now we're back in range there. Anything above, 215 is good. Below the 187 area, this area of liquidity, 1, 2, 3, start to lose that, we'll probably see another leg lower. Microsoft, they're still in range. They came up, tested that 50-day moving average, got denied. Not good look. Not a good look. This is always going to be a big level of resistance where they had this long, big base that they were building. Now that's going to be a big level of resistance at that 400 level. NVIDIA, they had the bad news. Still holding up relatively well. Like, I know we haven't created that next leg lower, but it looks pretty ugly, not going to lie. But relatively speaking, for the news that came out and their margins drastically, still holding that $100 range. If it does lose that, we could start to get in these areas down here. Still one of my high conviction names, despite some of the news that's coming out. I think a lot of this stuff will be resolved eventually, but you can't really trade options on eventually. So you kind of have to take, the news that's coming and trade off of that. Tesla is still bear flagging pretty hard. They have earnings coming up this week. I'm not going to try and, predict, how earnings are going to go out. So take it with a grain of salt, all the technicals that are going on with that. Meta, they broke down out of their little flag that I thought was forming and just looks weak. If they're pretty close to their bottom end of the range. So if they start to lose that 490 area, you could see 470 and even lower potentially. Sorry, a little bit of a yawn. But a lot of these things just can't get over their, moving averages, and that's part of the problem. I mean, when the Mag 7, Mag 8, whatever you want to call it, isn't like performing, it's going to show on indexes. Indexes are getting smoked. AMD came in this big point of resistance, like we were pointing out, and got denied. Pretty big sell. Looks like a nice double bottom on previous resistance. See if they can turn that into support and hold that 86. If not, another leg lower. Google came up. Same area of resistance is what the support was before the I still can't think of the name of the day. It is bothering me now. I might go on Discord and look really quick. I know Jimmy had mentioned it before. Now it's just confusing me. Sorry, let me get back on track. All right, 163, point of resistance. You can see clearly it was held as support. Now it's resistance. Need to get above that to get anything cooking. If we start to get below the 150 level, it's another leg lower, man. Those aren't things you want to see. Bear markets are tough to trade. Kind of sloppy action on Amazon. I don't really know. Like, I would say, where previous resistance was, or support is, and now resistance. You want to get above the 195 area. Test some of these moving averages to really get bullish. But anything below 165, that's another leg lower. Netflix still holding up very, very strong. They had great earnings to close out the week. We'll see if they hold that $1,000. I haven't looked at overnight prices, but that's kind of a big level of resistance. As you can see, it's kind of sloppy, but Netflix overall is like one of the Mag like 7s that are actually above their moving averages. So a lot of strength there. I think it's just part of the reason like they're not really affected by tariffs at all in any way. So there's like not really a lot, but still some high conviction names for the long term, like Meta, NVIDIA, even Tesla, I think, is a good long term. So it's like I look to accumulate a lot of these things on the downturn. So then when the, things and all the news start to like clear up a little bit, you could capitalize on those moves. But yeah, I mean, the breadth of the market is actually not doing too bad either. That's what I think is interesting. Like, you have these very beat up names like Dollar General and stuff that are actually maintaining some of their 200s. So the Mag 7 may not look good, but there are still some opportunities out there, in my opinion. Boeing's always just looked really ugly to me. I've never really been a big fan. But Yeah, we'll see how the week goes out. Like, it's really hard to tell you. I know we're in range. I'll be watching the ranges and stuff, and when it does break, that'll be my telltale sign. I'm hoping that we go bullish, but you can't really trade on hope. If we start to lose some of these levels like IWM or QQQ, yes, we'll probably see that leg lower, at least go test, the double bottom from that day or from that big drop that we've had. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I always say, if you have questions, stocks you want me to look over, just let me know. Comment them, message me. I'm always willing to look over different stocks. I just go over the main ones that I'm looking to trade, so I have the levels plotted out well. We'll see how this week goes, man. If any news comes in, we'll be sure to let you know. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Everyone have a great weekend, and let's be fantastic traders this week.